Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever glanced at government development policies, they usually just read like a giant bowl of alphabet soup. SGSY, PMAY, PMFBY. Yeah, it's incredibly easy for your eyes to just completely glaze over. But today, we're tossing out all that jargon. We're going to look at the strategic foundations of Indian rural development, not as some list of dry bureaucratic acts, but as a highly logical, step-by-step blueprint for building a community literally from the ground up. So how exactly do you build a thriving village from scratch? Well, to understand 7 complex rural development acronyms without getting totally lost in the weeds, we're going to use a really simple everyday analogy: building a sturdy house. Just think about it for a second. You wouldn't put a roof on a house before pouring the concrete foundation, right? Well, the exact same logic applies to socioeconomic development. You absolutely cannot expect a community to start thriving businesses if they don't even have a secure place to sleep or a way to protect themselves from sudden disasters. Every single one of these acronyms serves a very specific, vital role in our construction process.
Okay, here's our blueprint for today. We're going to lay down the overall strategy, pour a secure foundation, build the protective walls, put on a roof to spark future growth, and finally, look at the big picture.
Moving into Section 1, Blueprint for a Village. We're stripping away the jargon and looking at the overarching strategy before we start laying individual bricks. Instead of those bureaucratic names, think of this as a hierarchy of rural needs. It's much like a pyramid, or, the very house we're building. Just as a person needs food and shelter before they can focus on education or self-actualization, a village desperately needs physical security before it can ever achieve economic independence. So, 7 complex acronyms equal 1 sturdy house. That's the formula we're working with today. All right, Section 2, the foundation. You can't build anything without a solid base, which brings us to the crucial first steps here: housing and banking. Let's pour that concrete.
First up is PMAY, which is essentially the Housing for All scheme. The goal here is simple but totally life-changing. It provides funds to move families out of kacha setups, those fragile temporary shelters that might literally wash away in a heavy storm, and moves them into pucca houses. These are permanent, sturdy, affordable brick structures for below-poverty line families. That physical security is the absolute bedrock of our community.
Now, once a family has a physical home, they need a financial one. PMGSY acts as a key to the community vault, giving every single household a universal bank account. And here's the really surprising part: it requires a zero balance. Plus, they get a RuPay debit card, and it comes with a built-in safety net of a 1 lakh rupee accident insurance policy and a 10,000 rupee emergency overdraft facility. So if an emergency hits, families aren't forced right into the clutches of high-interest local moneylenders. Boom, the foundation is now set. On to Section 3, the walls. These are the ultimate backup plans. With a home and bank secured, our village needs walls to create stability and protect against the unexpected. The absolutely crucial point of the MGNREGA program comes down to one simple number: 100. This act legally guarantees exactly 100 days of employment per year to rural households. Just pause and think about the sheer power of that number for a second. It completely removes the terrifying uncertainty of a bad agricultural season. Think of this as the ultimate gig economy backup job for rural citizens. The mechanics are elegantly simple, but highly effective. Villagers are put to work on public projects that actually benefit their own community. Things like building local roads, digging ponds, or constructing wells. The scheme dictates that wages must be paid within 15 days. And here is the real kicker: if the government fails to provide this work, an unemployment allowance must be paid to them anyway. By increasing rural income predictably, this program acts as a massive wall that stops forced migration to crowded urban centers when local farming work dries up. Now, for farmers, a single bad drought or a sudden pest infestation can wipe out an entire year's income. That's where PMFBY steps in, acting as a giant protective umbrella. It's a crop insurance scheme where the farmer pays a tiny premium and the government covers the rest to protect against natural calamities and diseases. So, with laborers guaranteed an income and crops completely protected, the walls of our house are incredibly strong. Moving to Section 4, the roof, which is all about sparking future growth through education, business, and co-ops. First up is education through the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or SSA. We know you can't have long-term prosperity without an educated population. The ambition here is just staggering: to build a school in literally every single village and guarantee free, compulsory, and quality education for all 6 to 14-year-olds. It's intensely focused on stopping dropout rates and giving the next generation the intellectual tools they need to actually succeed. Next, the Mudra scheme provides collateral-free loans to encourage rural entrepreneurship. It's structured beautifully to scale up alongside a growing business. It starts with Shishu funding up to 50,000 rupees. Think of this as funding a basic lemonade stand. As the business grows, it moves to Kishore, which is 50,000 to 5 lakh rupees, acting kind of like the capital for a corner cafe. And finally, Tarun offers 5 to 10 lakh rupees for a full restaurant. Since no collateral is needed, it removes a massive barrier for the rural poor. Finally, we have SGSY, which is now merged into the National Rural Livelihood Mission. While Mudra provides the initial spark of cash, this program provides the safety net to achieve self-employment for below poverty line families. It heavily focuses on self-help groups, giving these new entrepreneurs training, marketing support, and government-subsidized credit so those new businesses actually survive. It takes that raw entrepreneurial spirit and gives it a highly structured community-based support system. And that brings us to Section 5, completing the big picture and putting Maslow's rural hierarchy to work. When you lay it out sequentially like this, the brilliance of the design becomes super obvious. It's a complete life cycle approach. Step 1, secure the base with a permanent home and a bank account via PMAY and PMJDY. Step 2, protect today's stability with guaranteed work and crop insurance through MGNREGA and PMFBY. And Step 3, fund tomorrow's growth through education and small business loans with SSA, Mudra, and SGSY. It's a totally holistic ecosystem. Stripping away the acronyms reveals a meticulously designed construction manual for pulling millions out of poverty simply by securing their present and funding their future. Which leaves us with a fascinating final thought. If organizing policies into these fundamental building blocks can transform something as vast and complex as rural India, where else could this blueprint work? Urban renewal? Entirely different nations? I'll let you ponder that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep looking for the blueprints behind the bureaucracy.